Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandee. Hopefully that worked out well. You see, I wasn't really planning on doing a live stream, so this is just kind of all spontaneous, so I didn't record like a new little intro, so I sung my intro live for you guys. Okay, well, hello to everyone who's already popped in the chat here. We see David and Looney Tunes and Tyler and Soul Life and Bark Eater Den and I'm so bad at reading names. Oh. Well, hello to everyone who's in the stream. I will try to keep up with it. So I wanted to hop on here and do a live stream about something that's been happening in the news, as I'm sure everyone is aware of, the Israel-Palestine issue, what's happening there. If people are interested, I can do a more thorough video of that where I go into more detail and thoughts on some aspects of it. But this is just one tiny aspect mixed in with all of the trash that just made me see red. Lots of this is upsetting me, lots of horrific stories and everything. But this was just another one that I'm shaking my head at. Like, why is this happening? So in the comments, let me know if you would like to see my view on like a more thorough, detailed video on this. Yeah, because I was just peacefully working away at my video about the Million March for Children, which I got the script halfway done, so that's pretty cool. And then this came into my feed and it just pissed me off so much. Here we go. So let's see. Just so you know, I do pay attention to the chat when I can. I also now know where I can look for super chats, so if I don't get to it right away, I will get to it. Also, I'm still about $300 away from paying off Frodo's vet bill. If you can, there's links in the description box for PayPal as well. You can just, if you're Canadian, do an e-transfer, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'm just trying to get all the plugging myself out of the way first before I get into the rest of this. I'm hoping this won't be a long video. Yeah, me right. Yeah, not a long video. That is we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so for those of you who might be newer to my channel or maybe have missed the video, about 6 months ago I made a video about Sarah Jama. She became MPP for a riding in Hamilton after a by-election. Sarah is amazing. She is just an amazing person all out. So she is in with the NDP, and at the time when I made that video, it's in there where I'm actually questioning how she got in to the NDP, like under their radar, because the NDP has a habit of filtering out activists. I know from personal experience, they don't want people who will speak their minds. And that is super frustrating. And Sarah is an activist. She lives with disabilities. She's Black woman, young. She's very young, Muslim. And I have a video of her, like a clipped video of her in my video where you can see her speaking about her experience with disabilities and stuff. And she is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I absolutely am so glad that she was able to get into the NDP. Well, it turns out the NDP, they're definitely taking that hard turn center. Oh, yeah, this bothered me. Okay, so before I get to her statement and her tweet that was about what's happening with Israel and Palestine, I'll just check the chat to say hi to everyone. Oh, NDP, that's the New Democrat Party. So in Canada, we have the New Democrat Party, which is the pretend progressive party. So they used to be a very progressive party. And we have them both on the federal level and provincial levels. They're the reason why we have our universal health care and other progressive more socialist type tendencies, and it used to be a party that represented more of that, and that is primarily where the base is still at. But I'd say over the past 10 years, well, it's probably been going on longer, but it's becoming blatantly obvious now that they're just turning into centrist corporate shills. They're no different than the Liberal Party at this point, with a lot of the things that they're trying to push, and even the policies that they try to push often now just tend to be means tested and all this sort of stuff, and everything that this party used to represent is pretty much gone. But every now and then you come across a member of the party who made it in as an MPP here in Ontario, which is a member of provincial parliament, or an MP, member of parliament federally, who still hold those values, who somehow got in under the radar and was able to bring their perspective, their activism, their socialist ideas, their just goodness to the party. And I'm hoping at some point that this part takes over, because the base definitely wants this. Because at this point, the base that approves of what's happening now in the NDP have already switched to Liberal. So yeah, it is frustrating beyond belief. Let's see if there's questions. Yeah, the NDP are neoliberal light. So Toods says, I saw this story this morning. I was pissed off, not particularly surprised. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you there. I feel that one. Can't say I'm surprised. It's not the first time somebody in the NDP has, had an independent thought and made it public, and then was harassed by the NDP to either change it or take it down. Yeah, Soul Life, there's 19 viewers and only 15 likes. What's up with that, huh? Okay. So I will now bring you to, needless to say, the NDP was really upset about Sarah's statement, and Doug Ford, we'll get to him, was also just outraged by her statement. Let's read her statement and see how horrible this is. See, when I don't have other people that I need another program for, I can make all these transitions so much nicer. Anyway, here's the tweet from Sarah. She starts by saying, I'm reflecting on my role as a politician who is participating in this settler colonial system, and I ask that all politicians do the same. That's a great start. And here is her official statement. Oh, it fits really nice on the screen. Okay, good. A call for an immediate ceasefire. What? Like, even right there, that is the first time I heard any politician just say, we need a ceasefire. Let's just stop the violence right now. Instead, I'm hearing a lot of people saying, well, Israel should be able to bomb people now because of what Hamas did. And because apparently people need to put this caveat in, what Hamas did was horrendous. There is no doubt about it. What they did was wrong and horrible and should have never happened. And what Israel, not Jewish people, but the government of Israel, what they are doing is also wrong and horrendous and shouldn't be happening. I don't want to say it's a both sides thing, but it's kind of a both sides thing. Anyway, Sarah's calling for a ceasefire. Yes, that needs to happen right away. Ceasefire. The generations-long occupation of Palestine, as explained by Michael Link? Is that Link? I'm horrible with names, sorry. The UN Special Rep... Okay, I cannot sight read out loud. Normally, I record these things. like when I'm shooting a video and I do like 1,000 takes and get the proper one in there, because my dyslexia will kick in and I can mix up words. So please forgive me as I'm doing this live. So yeah, I'll just go for the situation of human rights in Palestine territory is apartheid, i.e. a political regime intentionally prioritizing fundamental political, legal, and social rights to one group over another in the same space on the basis of racial national ethnic identity. We are seeing this definition of apartheid in real time through the continued violation of human rights in Gaza through the use of white phosphorus chemicals, the withholding of access to food, fuel, electricity, and water, and the destruction of the only exit from Gaza that isn't controlled by the State of Israel. The Rafah, yep, border. Yes, all of that, yeah. It is an apartheid state. It has been called out by Amnesty International, by the UN. These organizations have actually called it what it is. And I volunteer a fair bit with Amnesty International in my area, and I see the data. I see the details on this. People can go to the Amnesty International website to learn more about what's happening. Amnesty International also has to call out Canada a lot. Yeah, that's a thing too. Anyway, so to continue on, especially with this context in mind, the news coming out of Israel and Palestine is deeply concerning. For 75 years, violence and retaliation rooted in settler colonialism have taken the lives of far too many innocent people. I call for an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation. We must look to the solution to this endless cycle of death and destruction, and all occupation of Palestine land and end apartheid. Canada must hold true to its history of peacemaking. That is an idealized view of what Canada used to be anyway, and refrain from military intervention. My heart genuinely goes out to all of them impacted by this ongoing violence. What was wrong with that? Like, really, what was wrong with that? Like, I read it, and there's nowhere where she's dismissing the violence that Hamas does. There's nowhere where she's dismissing the violence that the Israel government has done. Like, it is one of the most measured responses out there. She's not condoning anything. Like, it is just an acknowledgement that this is a pattern and has been going on for a long time. But really, I don't see where the problem is. And other people have challenged the ones calling her to resign over this, to ask, like, where is the issue? Yeah. Let's see. There are no good guys in the Palestine conflict. This is what happens to apartheid systems. Stop oppressing people and provoking rage, says Emergency Remedial Truth. Yeah, there are victims on both sides here, and there are bad guys on both sides here. It is, at different times, people are responsible for the different conflicts. It is an ongoing cycle at this point. And something needs to give, as in something needs to break this cycle of violence. So one of the sides needs to step up. And right now, that side that can step up and really end it is the side with all the power, which is Israel. Sounds like Klingon when spelt phonically. Okay, says Oaken Hill Hermit. Probably knows seeing my Klingon dictionary in the back, which I have read at one point. It was a long time ago, though. We may be wired by some standards, but we are not wrong, and we are not the sick ones. Our hearts are tender from our pain, and we do not shun to see the beauty and the horror of it all, says Emergency Remedial Truth again. Yeah. What is happening is heartbreaking. And if I make a video about this, something that I'll go into more detail is just how heartbreaking it is in general to be aware of a lot of these conflicts, to feel for them, because all of the horror stories coming out about this, I saw none of this in the media when the Rohingya Muslims were fleeing Myanmar. And what was happening to them is just so... It is the nightmare that, some stories that you're hearing are exaggerated coming out of Israel and Palestine. Not everything has been proven. Again, this is part of the reason why I haven't really commented on it, is that you don't know what is true yet. But the stories from the Rohingya Muslims, from the survivors, the victims, so many of them, what happened to them is horrendous. And a lot of them are still in the Cox's Bazar, which is the largest refugee camp in the world. And this is one of the hard parts about being somebody who is more progressive, is to not look away when you hear these stories, to know that it's happening out there, to make sure that when you're giving analysis that you're including a broader sense. Like, I tend to focus on Canadian issues because that's where I can have the most impact. But I try my best to follow what's happening on a global scale because it's all connected. The way capitalism works around the world connects a lot of countries in very detrimental ways. So it's not just enough to be informed about what's happening in your own country. You have to know what's going on elsewhere. Because we can come up with a solution that sounds brilliant for Canada, but in the broader context, when you look at it, would be detrimental to other places. That's, when we get into like the NAFTAs and all that sort of stuff and labor abuses around the world, it's like, yeah, it might benefit us, but it's really harming the people that are basically working as slave labor. Okay, let's check. At least you can tell when I'm looking at chat because my camera's right in front of me, but I have to turn my head for chat. So I'm just not ignoring you, and I'm looking at chat to see if there's anything I need to comment on before I go forward. I ramble a lot, but that might be good for live streams. You don't want a lot of dead air. Stop funding Israel settlements. Evangelical influencers found a lot of Palestinian displacement and occupation, Oaken Hill Hermit said. Okay, see, this is where that cross-border solidarity I preach about a lot when it comes to the United States and Canada comes into play. Because a lot of Canadians are focused on what's happening in the States and they don't actually know what's happening here. If the United States were to stop sending money to Israel, that would do absolutely nothing. Why? Because Canada is also funding Israel. Yeah, we're also sending them weapons and money and everything for what they're doing. Like, the attitude you see in the American government is the exact same in the Canadian government, which will be reflected when I get to these next tweets. It's not good enough for one country to act. They have to, there's a word in my head where you sync up, but it's not the word sync. But they have to do it to... See, this is why I like scripting it out, because I could use the thesaurus to find out the exact word in my head that I'm thinking, unless somebody else knows it. Yeah, something like a coalition, but it's like everyone has to do the same action at the same time in order for this to work. Let's see. Mike Frame, NDP speaking truth to power here, but I can see the call for ceasefire as inflammatory. Israel has a right to combat the terrorists, just never the civilians. Yeah, they have the right to do that. Unfortunately, cutting off power to the Gaza Strip is not just going to harm Hamas. In fact, Hamas will probably be fine because they have stockpiles in anticipation for this sort of thing. If they were targeting specifically Hamas and only Hamas, I'd have less of an issue with it. But the amount of collateral damage happening right now, And yeah, Hamas should have never done. They should have not started this. Absolutely 100%. They should have never started this. And what they did was horrendous. But when it's, what's the word? When it's everyone is being punished for it, a collective punishment for entire Gaza Strip over what Hamas did, that's actually a war crime. Yeah, you learn a lot. Like if you volunteer or you read up on Amnesty International, you learn a lot about the war crimes countries like Canada and the United States have committed. And it's a long list. Mm-hmm. And other countries that we tend to think of as democracies and stuff, the war crimes that they've committed, yeah, they're there. Well, let's get to the response. So Marit Stiles is the new provincial NDP leader. She was elected to lead the party not too long ago, taking over for Andrea Horwath after she lost the, 14th time she tried to run for provincial office type thing. I don't know. And as with many people, I was reserved. A lot of people were skeptical from her right from the get-go. I was reserved in my opinion of her because she comes from a background of wealth. And it's hard to believe that she's going to champion the working class or people who live with less if she comes from the same elitist circle as a lot of what's taken over the NDP. That said, what she has done to out Doug Ford when it came to what's happening with the Greenbelt was good. She did a very good job with that. I have a video about the Greenbelt where I go over. It's something like Doug Ford being held accountable. And a lot of people have actually overlooked the role the NDP played in outing all these corruption charges and stuff that Doug Ford is now facing. So she did good. She should have left it there. Okay, so new from Laura Stone. New NDP leader Marit Stiles calls for MPP Sarah Jama to retract her statement. Remains in caucus. So, statement from the opposition leader Stiles on comments by MPP Jama. Marit Stiles, the leader of the official opposition NDP, issued the following statement following a post from MPP Jama. This statement does not reflect our party's position, which is articulated in our federal party statement. MPP Jama's statement was not approved by our caucus. Yeah, you see, that's a problem about being with these parties and stuff. You're not allowed to speak your mind. You have to filter it through what the party lines are. Which, yeah, having this parliamentary system we have isn't all it's cracked up to be. When we have members, once you're part of a party, you're not allowed to have independent thought. You have to toe the party line at all costs. I have asked that she retract her statement and state clearly that she decries any violence against both Israel and Palestine people and that she agrees with the federal NDP stance. She did call out or say that she didn't want violence against both Israel and Palestine. That was basically her statement, was saying that she didn't want any violence towards either side. That was there. But just the whole, like, the wording of this just sounds like, I don't want to say 1984, but yeah, like she has to, fall in line with the federal NDP stance or else. The terrorist attack by Hamas on thousands of innocent Israeli citizens are unjustifiable and we must condemn unequivocally. Agreed. We call for immediate ceasefire and de-escalation to prevent further bloodshed in Israel and Gaza and for a political solution to bring lasting peace to the region. So what exactly is different there? Why is she getting so mad at Sarah when she's also now saying, oh yeah, we should call for immediate ceasefire? Like, I don't understand where this is coming from. Let's see, because if we just go back, like I'm Yeah, my heart generally goes out to all those impacted on ongoing violence. I call for immediate ceasefire and de-escalation. We must look to a solution to end this endless cycle of death and destruction. End all occupation of Palestine. Oh, that's probably what did it. Yeah, it's how dare we call it an apartheid, and ask for Israel to stop the occupation. That is probably what got Merritt all bothered. Let's see. Hello to all the people who showed up. This is really great so far. Thank you to all the people I've kind of thrown in as moderators. If you don't want to be a moderator, please let me know. I don't know what the proper etiquette is around that. It's people I've seen as moderators and people who regularly show up to my chats. I kind of volunteered, but if you don't want to be one, by all means, you don't have to be one. And should the day come and I actually start getting, financially secure with this, I absolutely will reimburse, share the wealth, so to speak, because I feel bad when people volunteer their help for me all the time, but until I'm in a position where that's possible, it is what it is. And so that's why I appreciate it so much for anyone who's willing to help me out at this stage in the game. So let's go on to this guy. I had no idea who he is before this, turns out. So yeah, he's a liberal, and this is a lot of, it's almost 4 hours later and still no retraction or response from Sarah Jama. It shouldn't take this long when your leader asks you to publicly retract. It's time for Merritt Stiles to do the right thing and remove Miss Jama from her caucus. Yes, she needs to be removed for calling for a ceasefire. No, he wants her removed because said that it's an apartheid and an occupation. And, in Canada, that's a very touchy subject for a lot of our politicians for reasons. I touch on it a lot in my videos, how Canada is also an apartheid state. The way Canada treats Indigenous peoples is abhorrent. The genocide that had happened is still going on, and it's multiple genocides because it's affected multiple bands of Indigenous people. It's not just one group of people. And I see it a lot in my Twitter feed, this really does show that there's a very strong disconnect with how people view what's going on in Israel and Palestine and what's happening here in Canada. And I'm glad to say that the people I respect the most on Twitter, the people I like the most, tend to see it for what it is as well. There are a lot of people who are progressive or on the left who have stated things that, let's just say, are disappointing. But this coming from the Liberals, not surprised whatsoever. And then we get Doug Ford. Yeah, he as premier, he is unfortunately premier of Ontario, elected with only 18% of possible votes. As premier, I'm doing what Merritt Stiles won't. That already there is very, I want to say misogynistic, paternalistic. Yeah, I want to say that. That's exactly what it is. I'm calling on Sarah Jama to resign immediately as a member of provincial parliament. The audacity. I haven't even actually read the full statement yet because just that alone. Everything that he is, like, and criminal investigations are happening with him right now because of his corruption and just his history of misogyny, his history of racism, of classism, of ableism, of all of it. And he says this about Sarah? Yeah. Mike Frame says, do you think members speaking their own mind improve NDP's chances or not? As a whole party, no. I think what it does is if enough of them do it, it will push. It will start actually making the rift in the NDP big enough that things will have to change. Because if you have members of the NDP who are actually willing to stand up and say what's right and have the base actually support that and go for that, it's really going to... There's a word that I'm thinking of when you have to confront this. To reckon. That's it. There's going to be a reckoning within the NDP if enough people actually stand up and say something about it, which I welcome. Yeah, later on, I believe it's this month, there's the NDP convention in Hamilton. I know some people are planning on going there to protest the NDP, like as in progressives like me protesting how not progressive the NDP has become. I don't know, depending on schedule and everything, I might show up too, because like I mentioned before, I tried to run for the NDP twice. And the first time is a story I still haven't told. I will at some point. The second story, they literally, after telling me I was going to get the spot, then told me, no, sorry, you're not going to become the candidate because you have a sense of humor and you speak your mind. And my story is not unique. I also talked to somebody else. It's an interview on my channel. A young man who also was trying to run for the NDP, who the establishment NDP made it impossible for people who were more progressive, more socialist, to actually get in. And there was like no democracy involved either. Like people weren't voting or anything. The NDP was appointing people if they didn't like the options that the ridings were coming up with. So a lot of these ridings had people that were just imposed, appointed and things of that sort, as opposed to the riding actually voted for this person to be the representative for the NDP. Anyway, let's get to Doug Ford's statement. Sarah Jama has a long and well-documented history of anti-Semitism. No, she does not. That anti-Semitism is her standing up for Palestinians. That is what it is. I touch on that in that video that I made about her as well. I'm just getting so fed up and sick of people. Here, I just want to say this in the main shot here. I'm so fed up with people accusing others of being anti-Semitic because they simply say we shouldn't be harming the Palestinians, that the Palestinians have rights that are being violated. You know, acknowledging that Israel, the government, and a lot of us do specifically say the government of Israel is harming them, and yet are constantly being called anti-Semitic because of it. And like, here's the thing. You can not be anti-Semitic and not be Islamophobic at the same time. It's possible to be both. And it's just so frustrating that, you know, if you want to do the BDS movement, the boycott, divest, sanction, if you want to speak up, you're instantly labeled as anti-Semitic by a lot of these people, and they need to just shut the fuck up, because that is not the case. We just want the violence to stop. We just want the human rights abuses to stop. You know what? I don't want Hamas to be in power there. I want them gone, because they are a violent group and they're hurting people, and the atrocities that they are committing are not okay. But the people of Palestine, not everyone there supports them. Of course they don't. Not everyone there, you know, has some nefarious agenda that they want to wipe out all the Jewish people in the world. That's not the case, and yet all of them are being punished because of what this one group did. Okay, like evangelical Christians, according to their Bible and stuff, people like me, non-binary, queer, they want dead. Does that mean that we get to wipe out the Bible Belt? No. Like, and even within evangelical Christians, not all of them think that. So to just put that on everyone else because one group has done horrible things is so wrong. And yeah, I see it over and over again, and it doesn't make any sense to me as to why instantly, as soon as you say that you stand with the people of Palestine, that it's like this, even though there's no way that I am not applauding any violence that they did, not even in the slightest, and I call it out. And here's where I get tricky with the whole live stream thing. I don't know if the right word is condemn or condone, because my dyslexia mixes them up all the time, so I'm not saying those words, I'm just saying calling out and saying it's wrong. So, because in my brain, condemn and condone mean the same thing, even though I know that they're opposites. But my dyslexia messes that up all the time. So I'm just saying I think it's wrong. Okay, let's get back to Doug Ford's statement. Merritt Stiles and the Ontario NDP have proven time and time again that they tolerate these hateful views and actions by keeping Miss Jama in their caucus. Yeah, calls for ceasefire, very hateful. Nearly 24 hours after Miss Jama's disturbing statement, Miss Stiles has yet to hold Miss Jama accountable for publicly supporting the rape and murder of innocent Jewish people. Wow. I actually, I didn't read all of that ahead of time. Nowhere does she say that. Oh my God. That is, she did not say that. Not even remotely close. Holy shit. Huh. That is quite the thing to put in your public statement to the people of Ontario. Wow. Rachel Atwood, condone equals says is good, condemn says it's bad. That's usually what I think it is, but I'm still super paranoid that I'm going to mix it up, so I just don't say it. So my dogs are goth, I'm Canadian, but know much more about American politics, sadly enough. Yeah, that's why I focus mostly on Canadian politics, because I am aware Canadians know more about American politics than we do about our own. So let's go on with this statement from Doug Ford. As Premier, I'm doing what Miss Stiles won't in calling on Sarah Jama to resign immediately as a member of the provincial parliament. Her views do not represent Ontario. They have no place in the legislature, and they have no place in this province. I'm getting fancy with this. You see, Doug Ford is latching onto anything he can right now because the RCMP is now investigating him. Why the RCMP instead of, the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police? Because quite literally, the OPP can't be trusted to do an unbiased investigation of him. So they had to push it off to the RCMP, which stands for the Royal, the R surprisingly not standing for racist, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which I suppose if you want to put it, kind of understand what it is to American stuff, would be kind of like the FBI, I guess. The RCMP would be kind of like the FBI, and then you have the CIS, and we have CSIS, which would kind of align there. So yeah, that is Doug Ford, but we go on to so Colin DeMello is a reporter who, Canadian news is hit and miss when it comes to how biased and unbiased they are. It all depends on which corporation owns the news outlet, but Colin does a good job every now and then. I can't say Global News in and of itself is a good news outlet. They tend to be more balanced than a lot of the others. National Post is just a right-wing rag right now that I'm actually going to be including in their video in the near future. So Colin is covering this, just saying that Doug Ford is calling on Sarah Jama to resign, and is like, Premier Doug Ford, it should be noted, never called on his cabinet ministers' caucus members to resign from Queen's Park when they were accused of election interference, breaching ethic rules, and lying to the Integrity Commissioner. That's some of it, not all of it. Yeah, he's never called on any of them. I also remember some of his ministers back when COVID was still being taken seriously, like the first winter of it, and travel was being, put off, and there were travel, people weren't allowed to more or less travel, and some of his ministers were still, going to the States to check on their second home, vacation home, and all that sort of stuff, and blatantly abuse their power and all that sort of stuff. He never called for any of them to step down. Oh no, because if everyone in the Conservative Party who should step down did, there would be no Conservative Party. It's just David Dole. He also just released a video about some Palestine and Israel stuff today. I think it's the second one he's done on it. Always fantastic stuff. I still envy his ability to just be able to mush this all together and throw it out there instantly. I don't know how he does it so seamlessly. Like, again, the reason why I'm doing this live stream right now is because I have a lot of other videos on the go that I have in my brain. And if I don't do this now for this while it's on my brain, I probably won't get around to it. Because with all the other ones that I have. But David Dole says David Dole of the Rational National. So go check out his channel and check out his videos on it. Even though Merit Styles and your party have failed you, we stand with you, along with major human rights organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and Israel-based... I should read these ahead of time. Based what this word is. I don't know the kind of pushback Sarah's getting in her life about this, because despite the hellhole, or as I call it, hostile fart sauna Twitter has become, I'm still very funneled. I see a lot of the people who I support tend to also have the same way of thinking. So I see tons of support and love for Sarah and what she said. So I don't know how bad it actually is. So I hope she's seeing this. Like, I hope she knows that a lot of us think she's brave, bold, brilliant. The NDP Social Caucus, just as we did in the spring of 2023, the Socialist Caucus stands with Sarah Jama and her courageous, desperately needed voice. Yes. And that is Sarah right there. Yeah, because she went through, again, the anti-Semitic accusations when she was running to be a member of provincial parliament that, again, were basically just because, she was calling for an end to the apartheid state for Palestinians. But I really want people to go back and look at my video that I made about her, because in it I do link to a video where she gave a talk, and just the way that she was talking about people with disabilities, her struggles and everything, I got a little emotional. I gotta admit, it was pretty powerful stuff. And yeah, I've been like posting all over Twitter around these tweets. It's like, I vote for Sarah Jama to be the new leader of the Ontario NDP. And a lot of people seem to be agreeing with me. Well, as far as my tweets go, I don't get much attention to my tweets, but a lot of people, for my standards, in relation to my tweets, agree with me. We also have the Independent Jewish Voices. Merit Styles' statement is measured. So they're talking to Merit Styles in this. So Merit Styles, Sarah's statement is measured and fair. What about it doesn't reflect the NDP values? Be specific. Yeah. Like, what is it that she said that was wrong? But the thing is that Merit can't be specific, because if she was, it would expose them for the colonial state that they are. Like, that's pretty much what it is, because the only thing that I can see is that she's asking basically for an end to the occupation of Palestine. And that seems to be the biggest issue, because in Merit's own statement, she was also then asking for a ceasefire. So, fortunately, Sarah's statement is still up. She has not retracted it, which I was getting worried she would if there was too much pressure. However, she did have to amend it slightly. So I feel this. She says, oops, spelt Palestine wrong in previous tweet. I feel that. I feel that a lot. So she says, I heard many voices yesterday raising concerns about my post. I hear them, and above all, I understand the pain that many Jewish and Israel Canadians, including my own constituents, must be feeling. I apologize. I don't see what she needed to apologize for, because she was saying what Hamas did was wrong. Yeah, anyway, to be clear, I unequivocally condemn terrorism by Hamas on thousands of Israeli civilians. Yeah, so do I. I also believe that Israel's bombardment and siege on civilians in Gaza, as was also noted by the United Nations, is wrong. Yeah, I agree. As a member of the Ontario NDP caucus, I stand by the position of our federal party and believe that violence against civilians is never justified and that there is no military solution to this conflict. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, like this situation with Israel and Palestine is so complex. It goes back so long. It's a cycle that just never seems to be ending. But to see how it affects our politics too. Again, this is the whole global connection thing. The effect that what's happening over there, because we often say wars that are happening in other places don't affect us here, which is true to a lot of like the violent sense. Like we don't see fighting on our lands. The loss of casualties on our side is very low. It's usually, generally speaking, it's just the people who go over there to fight. So we don't see the same horrors, but those politics still affect us, just in different ways. And it's usually along the ways of, God damn it, what's the word? Not enforcing, but keeping it going. The colonial settler, capitalistic, neoliberal. There's a word about basically supporting that and keeping it going. Let's see. Does anybody... I don't know if anybody knows the word that I have in my brain for it. So I keep getting chat capped at no more than 10 letters per line. This may be... Okay. Wow, thank you everyone for showing up. This is really great of all of you. Let's see if there's anything. Occupation automatically results in revolution, Oaken Hill Hermit. I wouldn't say it's automatic, but again, when you stop giving people any other option to be heard, to fight back, to stand their ground, like, what do you think is going to happen? It doesn't justify it. It never justifies it. But what options are left? And again, that's something that I can get into more if people want to video more about the Israel-Palestine issue and all that sort of stuff. But this is more about, how our Canadian politicians have to toe the line. They have to, whatever the corporations, the establishment within the government chooses, they have to go with it. And the Liberals and Conservatives are often influenced by the same capitalist corporation needs. So it is like the Liberals and Conservatives are not that different. The Liberals just tend to be a little bit more progressive when it comes to how people live their lives. Want to smoke marijuana? Sure. You're queer? Sure. They still have issues within it, don't get me wrong there, but they're a lot better on those types of issues than, let's say, the Conservatives are. But when it comes to anything economics, international, taxation, all that sort of stuff, they align with each other. When it comes to things like blocking universal pharmaceutical care in Canada, they align with each other. It is, there's not much daylight between those two. So Looney Tunes 9000, Sandee, we're fucked. Why? Your former boss Jank is running for U.S. president. He was never my boss. Just want to state that. He was CEO of the company that I was contracting to work with. But I completely different department. I never report, I had supervisors and stuff that were in a completely different section than anything involved with the main shows and stuff like that. So very little crossover. I did get to speak to him once though on the conversation. That went horrible. It was a long time ago. Let's see. But yeah, again, I'm not sure he can run for president. I know he thinks he can find a way around it. I have my theories as to why he is. And book sales has something to do with it, but I think more and over it's midlife crisis. That is, to me, that's what I see as his main driving factor these days is midlife crisis. And this need to remain relevant. Just this absolutely desperate need to remain relevant. Let's see. TYT comments on the Israel-Palestine issue have been shocking, especially from Ben Glebe. I actually did go back and watch the video of Jank and Ben, and yeah. Dave Schuster also released some tweets. David Dole covered it in his Rational National video. Actually, let's see if I can pull it up quickly. No, not that one. This is nice because I'm in a different setup. You're not seeing me play with my computer while I'm trying to find what I'm looking for. But yeah, Dave Schuster, who, yeah. Now my problem is I like so many things on Twitter because I'm usually doing it because I agree with the statement. I want to support people. I want to broadcast more information. All that's, I like so many things that to try to find a specific thing that I liked as a bookmark, which I use them for, can become very difficult. Okay, I think at this point it's just going to be easier for me to search Dan. Oh, actually, let's see if this works. I'm working on this whole seamless integration thing or switching thing. Let's see if this works.
Really?
Of course.
Here, guys, I'm trying to fight off this guy who broke into my house and is trying to take it over.
Oh my god, you poor thing. What do you need? Weapons? Cash?
Really?
Of course. What he's done is simply wrong. We stand with you and will do whatever it takes to support you in your courageous and just fight to repel the invader.
Thank you. Guys, I'm trying to fight off this guy who broke into my house, expelled me from it, and locked me in the shed.
You're doing what? That is barbaric. I want you to condemn yourself.
What? I don't think you heard me right.
Oh, we heard you all right, you maniac. What you've done is simply wrong. We stand with the guy who took over your house and locked you in the shed, and will do whatever it takes to support him in his courageous and just fight to blow the shed up.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty well spoken. Also, I absolutely adore the accent. Apparently, everything from what I've been seeing, Ireland has been really vocal and good on what they've been saying about everything that's been going on. Let's see. Where is Dan's tweet? Here we go. Let's go back to this. This is so much easier when I don't have to worry about the other screen and I can just go back and forth. So Dave Schuster was saying to Ben Dixon, sorry. Well, Ben was saying, sorry, but my heart can't distinguish between children murdered by a group A and children murdered by group B. And then Dave said, sorry, but there is no moral equivalence between deliberately murdering children and Israel's military collateral damage in trying to protect itself from terrorism. For years and years and years, like again, especially since I volunteer with Amnesty International, you see a lot of the reports and come across a lot of the news stories about a kid playing near the border gets shot in the head by a sniper. Like, that government has been indiscriminately killing kids for years as well. But for some reason, a lot of people can only see it from one side, and I don't get it. Like, I'm with Ben on this. Like, children being murdered is wrong regardless of who's doing it. But Dan says, when IDF snipers repeatedly headshot Palestinian children, how is that not deliberate? What isn't deliberate about cutting off food, water, and power to Palestinian children isn't deliberate murder. The median age in Gaza is 18. Beyond disappointing take. And yeah, I feel it, because the vast majority of people who are going to be hurt when Israel cuts off all this power and supplies to the people in Palestine, half of them are children. You know, the vast majority of them don't support Hamas. And the situation has been getting that bad because, you know, it's not reported on the news, but they're not allowed to have construction materials sent into the Gaza Strip. There's a blockade. There's certain supplies that they're not allowed to have. They're not allowed to move in and out of the country freely, like, because it's all this fear of, like, well, if we give them any supplies, they're going to use it to hurt us. And like, it's almost, I don't know, it's a lousy comparison that I have in my head. But you remember when the States put a bunch of people they suspected to be terrorists in Guantanamo Bay, but then they ran into the problem 40 years later that all the abuse and torture that they received, even if they weren't a danger before, they were worried that because of what they did to them, they would become one once they got out. And I almost worry that's what Israel's thinking is now, that if they allow the people of Palestine to really start speaking up for themselves, if they start to build their infrastructure and stuff like that, there's a lot of people in the Israeli government, I think, don't understand how they could not want to seek revenge for what's been happening to them, which again is just part of the cycle that just keeps on going and going and going. I imagine the vast majority of people in Palestine just want to live their lives without the threat of being bombed, you know, to be able to have food, jobs, go to school, all that sort of stuff. Let's see. So Rachel Atwood, the term for collateral damage used for human beings can die a long, slow death. Yes, that is. It is never okay. Like, this is one of the things and that I don't get about war, how there's specific things within war that are considered war crimes, when it's like, when you look at everything objectively, everything they do is a crime when it comes to war. The idea that you can put restrictions or limitations on how you're allowed to murder people, like intentionally kill people, just kind of boggles my mind. Like, I can understand it for defense, like strictly defensive reasons, but for offensive reasons to just, you know, well, you're allowed to kill these people in this way, but not that way. I'm just against war. So Vanessa, even if the children did support Hamas, can you blame them? They have known nothing but violence, murder, dispossession their entire lives by the Israel apartheid regime violence begets violence. Yeah, let's just say I understand where the violence is coming from, but I don't agree with it, because any violence that they feel is justified to inflict on Israel in order to get their state back gives license to Israel to then inflict more violence on them. Like, Hamas hurt Palestinians with this attack too, because the amount of people who in Palestine who are now going to suffer and die because of that attack is, yeah, like, Hamas isn't doing this for Palestine. They're doing it for their own radical reasons. So Donald James X, how much of Palestinian population actually support Hamas? I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lot. I have no idea on that number, so I'm not even going to guess. Rachel Atwood, they're still dead either way. Yeah. But the thing is even within those restrictions as to what's a war crime and not, they're never really enforced. Like the use of white phosphorus, as was mentioned, is a war crime. You're not supposed to kill people using white phosphorus. And yet, apparently Israel has done it. I don't know if it's happened recently. Like, anything that has happened recently in this conflict, I am not taking anything what I've seen at word value, because there's so much disinformation, especially on Twitter right now. Basically, the most reliable source for me right now on the exact details as to what's happening is I'm sticking with Democracy Now! Them I trust. But anything I see on Twitter, I'm taking with a huge grain of salt. Collectively punishing kids. Yeah, is like, the medium age is somewhere between 18 and 20 there. What does that say? Like, the conditions that people are living in to get like that. That whenever Israel sends a bomb over there, there's a 50% chance they're going to be killing kids. So the emo dragon, I heard there was a lot of stuff that was years ago being said it was just days or hours ago. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Yeah, so I don't really have much more that I wanted to say on this, because again, I was just primarily focusing on just this Sarah Jama, like a bright light within the NDP, her being attacked and them trying to smother her out because she had the bravery to actually speak her mind. Just bugs me so much. And part of that is because it's personal, because I have dealings with the NDP. And it's because they read my Twitter and thought, oh dear, she's going to speak her mind, that they wouldn't allow me to run for the party. Like, it's so hard to change the NDP when they're gatekeeping who can actually run to become a candidate in their party. Like, the riding associations that are supposed to be the people electing them get overridden by the establishment, by this internal NDP thing going on, and you can't go past it. Like, for the Americans who don't know, you can't just run for a party. Like, I can't just sign up and say I'm going to run for the NDP. They have to approve you first. And if they don't approve you, then you can't be part of their team. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, I want to run for them to help change it from within, when they would never let somebody like me within. And truth be told, I'd probably be just as much a pain in the ass to them as Sarah is, because back at my second attempt after they had told me I was going to be a candidate, but before they had told me no, that wasn't the case, I had actually made an announcement video that I was ready to go public with as soon as they gave me the go-ahead. And in it, I actually state something along the lines like, yes, I'm going in as NDP. Whether I stayed the full 4 years as NDP is, yet to be determined, because, yeah, I would have stuck to my principles, my morals, my stuff. So, the establishment NDP did a good call for their motivations for oh, God damn it, what's the word? For their self-interest. For their own self-interest, it was best for them to not let me be a candidate. But for the best self-interest of the base of the NDP, they should have. Vanessa, it's almost like electoralism strips the principles and morals of those who participate in them. Looking at you, Jake and Anna. Well, okay, let's see if I can find the tweet. This was so disappointing. Let's see, where is it? And this would have been part of, like if I'm going to make a larger video about it, this would have been in it. Let's see, where is it? Did he delete it? I don't think he would. Sorry, interesting. I'm just going to make silly faces until I find it. Because I know. Ah, here it is. So recently there was a provincial election in Manitoba, and the person who is now Premier of Manitoba is the first First Nations Premier, Wab Kinew. And everyone super excited that somebody from the First Nations has gotten in as Premier, and there's high hopes that he would not partake in the whole colonial system, that he would be the change and all that sort of stuff. And this morning I spoke with the members of the Jewish community in Manitoba to express my solidarity. I condemn the terrorist attacks against Israel, the targeting of civilians, and affirm Israel's right to self-defense. My hope is for a swift de-escalation of this conflict. You see, the way everything has been going on, the right to self-defense is almost like coded language that they're allowed to just attack Palestine indiscriminately. Is because that's the excuse that they've been using for all these years as to maintaining that apartheid state. Yeah. Lots of responses here to, just way to uphold colonialism. Joy Henderson, if you're on Twitter, go follow her. She's amazing. I recently found out that I had accidentally blocked her, and I was horrified because I was looking at the replies to a tweet from somebody who I respect, and I saw that there was a blocked reply, but then that same person having a positive response to that, thinking, who was that? And so I looked, and it was Joy, and I was like, oh my God, no. Because I've been blocking a lot of blue checks, but now that they're no longer blue checks necessarily at the top and whatnot, I just get into like these rapid fire blocks, and so I must have accidentally blocked her, and I was horrified. But anyway, we're mutuals again, so it's all good. But yeah, you can just see there's a whole list of responses to what WAB did with this, because yes, targeting of civilians is bad, no matter what side is doing it. Ugh. And, well, basically, a lot of that same sort of thing happened with the federal NDP when Jagmeet Singh first got in. I had high hopes for him. Like, his campaign to become leader was brilliant. And he seemed to be everything that we would want in an NDP leader. And then it didn't take long for him to start with the means testing, start with the very curated, I was going to say cultivated, but that's not it, very curated language in his messaging and his tweets, and yeah, just very disappointing. There is somebody else that I'm hoping will run for the next NDP leadership. I think he's gearing up to do it. I don't want to put him on the spot, so I'm not going to say who it is, but I think he's gearing up for it, and I've even privately messaged him saying, I will do whatever it takes to help you become leader of the NDP. Because I think he's one of the people in the NDP who has gotten in trouble for actually speaking his mind. But I'm not finding it surprising he'd be a bit quiet right now about these subjects with the convention for the NDP coming up, and if he is considering running for leadership, he might want to be a little bit quieter, not bring the attention to him quite yet, but we'll see how it goes. So Mike Frame, every single YouTube ad for me is now PP, conservative government malarkey. Okay, don't tell YouTube this, but I'm super pissed off with them right now because they have found ways to notice if I might be using ad blockers. And it's pissing me off. I think one day I just want to do a rant, not now, but just a rant on online ads and how, like, I just have a very visceral hatred for them in every conceivable way. And I think that that can be its own rant in a different live stream. I don't need to bring it up now. But it's just, I have a visceral hatred for online ads. And I hate that I have to even have them on my channel. And should the day come that, I start making enough through Patreon and stuff of that sort, I will demonetize my channel. Yeah, uBlock had a good ad block. Yeah, they had one. Yeah. Looking for, I'm not looking. No, not looking. Not looking for another one. Not Googling it obsessively or anything like that. No. Not as a content creator on YouTube. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. One of them makes me breakfast in bed most days. Oh, Marianne. I don't know what that's in reference to, but it sounds really nice. The only people here that could do that for me are my cats. So they don't do that for me. Oh, sure. I'll give an update on Frodo. Again, he is doing well. He still hasn't put on as much weight as I would like, but he is doing well. For those of you who don't know, he had a very bad health scare a month and a half ago or something, right after I adopted his 2 new baby brothers. And I had to take him to the vet multiple times, run tests, get an x-ray. I'm still about $300 shy of paying off his vet bills. So if you can, I've linked in the description box my PayPal, and if you're Canadian, you can send an e-transfer just to help finish getting that paid off would be amazing. But he is an older cat, and I've had a lot of experience with cats because I used to volunteer for a cat rescue. And in my experience, once a cat hits a certain age, when they get sick, they are done. It's just, you can try giving them all the treatments you want, but they never work in the end. And so when Frodo got sick, I was terrified because he's an older cat, and he had suddenly lost a lot of weight, and we don't know why. And his blood work came back normal. His x-ray came back normal-ish. Like, he did have a touch of pancreatitis, which he had had before. His kidneys are slightly enlarged, but not to a point that they were too concerned. Basically, if I have to take him back in, it's to get an ultrasound to focus on the kidneys, because the vet suspects if there's something wrong, it's wrong there. But he seemed to have pulled through whatever he had, and that just, that's like the little miracle I needed this year, because I'm not ready to lose him right now. I've had a lot of cats again. I've had a lot of cats in my life, and when their time came, I accepted it. I didn't want it, of course, but I accepted it. I knew that their time was coming to an end, all that sort of stuff. But with Frodo, I just was not there. I could not accept it. Like, he is the most amazing kitty out there. I can do this. See? Right there. So he is starting to act normal-ish. There's some things that he hasn't quite gotten back to, and I think that could also be the influence of the two new babies, Abernathy and Lanier, because they are handfuls and they are terrors, and one of them likes to chew on cords. That's why I'm still using this, because I need a new cord for my Yeti mic so that I can then be hands-free while talking on this. That's on my Amazon wish list, also linked below if you would like to help me out that way. So I'm not able to play with Frodo because he used to love to play every evening, and that's actually, I thought would be a benefit of getting the younger ones, is babies for him to play with. We're not quite playing the same. Some aspects of his personality haven't come back, but a lot of it has. And so sometimes overnight I'll kick the babies out of the bedroom so I can have some alone time with Frodo, and oh my god, now that I'm saying that out loud, it sounds really disturbing. Frodo likes bedtime snuggles, okay? He likes bedtime snuggles. And with the other two getting in, he can get a little muffed and poofed off by that. So sometimes I'll keep them out of the bedroom overnight so that we can have our snuggles. That still sounds so wrong. Because he also likes to snuggle first thing in the morning too. But also that's a way for me to monitor how much food he's eating overnight. So without worry, because Abernathy will eat so much. Like, that's one of my worries now, is that Abernathy is going to get overweight, because I want to leave food out at all times for whenever Frodo wants to eat, because I still want him to gain weight. And Frodo was always a grazer. Like, he never sat down and just chomped away. So I'm trying to leave food out all the time, but then Abernathy is eating way too much. So yeah, I'm not sure how to work around that at this point. I'll work on it. Donald James X, my cat just got sick out of nowhere and passed away. Oh no, sorry to hear that. I still have her ashes. Yeah, that's sad. I've never gotten the ashes of any of my pets, even some of the closest ones to me, and primarily because of cost. But when the time comes, which is still, 15 years from now for Frodo, when the time comes, I think with him, I'm going to get his ashes. But so sorry to hear about that, Donald. Oh, Looney Tunes, thank you for posting the link to my Amazon wishlist. I'm still learning how to do all this live streaming stuff, so I want to maybe work in some bots that work so nicely in the majority report chat. I don't know how to set them up at this point. It's one thing at a time. I'm just thrilled that I now know where to look to see if I've gotten any super chats. So that will be useful at some point. Looney Tunes 15 years. Frodo is about 15 years old. And I keep on saying he's going to live till he's 30. So, oh, Oaken Hill Hermit, zip tie your cords together to stop them from chewing on individual cord to the point of shock. That is a really good idea. Thank you. I will look into that. Right now, I have a room with my setup in here, so basically when I'm not in here monitoring them, so like overnight and stuff, I keep the door closed now to try to prevent that. But I still get worried about like the cords behind my TV, and I have a laptop in the other room and stuff like that, where I don't have cable. My laptop is connected to my TV, and that's how I watch my TV. Let's do... See, I'm getting all fancy with this, huh? So this here, this here, no, this way, this one. That is the pansexual pride flag. And then that one is the non-binary. This one, no, this way. Okay, this one is the non-binary flag. And on it I have my preferred pronouns, but they're she, her, Mr., Sir, folk, they, them is fine. Basically, there's not a gender neutral pronoun I'm completely thrilled with. I'm not thrilled with using they, them, but there's nothing else that's really used often enough for me to move to. So I'm fine with she, her. I present female, so be it. So in my chat, if anybody misgenders me or calls me she, they, I don't even care if they call me him. You don't have to worry about it. I actually get a little bit more miffed, I guess. I'm a little bit more sensitive to when people call me a woman or a girl, especially a girl, lady, that sort of thing. But if you see anybody in chat doing things like that, you can politely correct them, but I present female. I don't get mad at people who don't know. It is one of those things. Like, for the people who know me, if they try to remember, that's great. But also for the people who know me, they've known me for so long, and it's just habit sometimes. So I don't get upset when people misgender me. But I gotta admit, I really appreciate it when people do remember. So, so yeah. And there's still a lot of language out there that doesn't exist for non-binary people. Like, even when it comes to like boyfriend, girlfriend and stuff like that. I think somebody was trying to like they friend or them friend. And that is just like, can we not make everything they, them as the insert for gender neutral, please? Like, that is just, that would be nice. I would like that. I still want to get I've come up with a gender neutral word for a word for non-binary people. So you have ladies and gentlemen. What I would really like is mixture. So think monsieur, French, but with mix, because mix is becoming popular in place of like Mr. Miss. Mix is quite popular there. So mixture, I think, would be nice for that kind of formality type thing. Friend. Actually, Rachel, what I would like is per friend. P-E-R, friend. Kind of like person, friend. Per friend. I think that would work well and natural and stay. And also, if I could have my preferred pronouns, I would probably go with per and pers. Although the pers might get confusing because there's an S at the end, so plural versus not plural type thing. But per and pers. I guess the other one could be like, I don't want to say P, like people, like P and per, because I don't want my pronoun to be P. But it could be peep. I wouldn't mind peep and purr. But yeah, if we could get mixture going, I would really like that. And per friend would be nice. But I'll worry about that when I'm in a relationship. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. I'm nowhere on topic anymore because I kind of covered what I wanted to. So unless there's anything else, I can let people go. I know Letterhack is doing his show shortly. Let me put up some more graphics first. Let's get rid of it. There we go. Huh? See, getting really smooth here. Art. Yeah, if you go to my webpage, you can check out Sandee. Here's the funny thing that you guys don't see me doing, because I'm using the main camera right now. But when I'm looking at the OBS screen to see where these graphics and stuff are, I'm using my mouse pointer to point at them for you guys. And I'm completely forgetting that you're not seeing that. So check out my website right here, sandeelovas.com. We did get rid of the contact box in it because it was not working. So anything art related, please email sandeelovas@gmail.com. anything Left of the Box related, you can email leftofthebox@gmail. I'm still looking for customers for my art. My mom has been supportive, which is nice. Let's see. Oh, right. Letter Hack. He has Nina Turner, I believe, is on tonight. Let me just super duper triple check. I think I retweeted it. Yep. Nina Turner. Oh, 8 p.m. So we're actually good timing here. So 8 p.m. I want everyone to go to the Letter Hack's channel to see his live interview with Nina Turner. That should be really good. And so that is coming up in just 10 minutes. So I will let everyone go. And this is where I'm getting to that awkward spot of I don't know how to end a live stream. And I just have this urge like, you hang up first. You know? Like, it's not as bad as Sam Cedar where he has no clue how to do that. I at least know how to do that. But I just, like, I feel weird cutting it off while there's still people here. So tell you what, I will play the Letter Hack ad and then my little outro, and then see you all with the next live stream. Like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Share, become a patron if you can. Special thank you to everyone who already has. Oh, and thank you to the person who got me the cat treats from my wish list. I got them just a couple days ago. Super appreciate it. And oh yeah, I'm on all of these social medias. I'm on other social medias, but you know, don't look for me on Facebook. I'm never on there. I technically have it, but you know, I don't use it. And yeah, you notice with the little Twitter bird, I'm still calling it Twitter, but you can see there, I've just put the X over the I, because that's kind of how I feel about it right now. Yep. So yeah, salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandee, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today. And here's the ad I'm okay with.
Hi there, I'm the Letter Hack, the cartoonist for the left. Are you sick and tired of hearing the news reported by overpaid shills for capitalism? Have you had enough of being lied to by corporate-funded cable news hosts? Then you're probably looking for an alternative to legacy and mainstream media. Well, so am I. And believe you me, there are plenty of other voices on the left doing good work speaking truth to power. Every week I use my platform to promote them in order to make sure you know that you have options when it comes to listener-supported podcasts, newsletters, articles, and media activism. But there's a catch. I'm an artist and a big nerd, so whether I'm interviewing a guest or showcasing a particular indie news outlet, there's always art involved. So, if you're desperate for a change in who you get your news commentary from, and you're a fan of pop culture, comics, and art in general, check out youtube.com/theletterhack. Live streams are every Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, but I'm creating more content all the time, so hit subscribe to make sure you get notified. Don't miss out. After all, the need for independently funded left-wing media isn't going anywhere, which means there's plenty of work still to do. So come hang out, watch me draw for a while, and learn about alternatives to the mainstream. That's youtube.com/theletterhack.